Well, hi. So you've noticed I've had braids and I love them so much. And I planned on having them in for, the typical 6 to 8 weeks. However, they don't seem to love me very much. And that's why they need to come out. Unfortunately, as in this video, we are going to be taking these out together to make this an interactive experience, as I also share with you some things that I think would be really helpful if you are about to get braids for the first time. If you're thinking about getting braids for the first time, then these are things that I learned after already having them put in my hair that I didn't focus on when doing my research beforehand, or that honestly no videos actually came up that were titled something like this one. And even though I love them, even though I am happy I did it because I learned that I definitely want to go for it again in the future, if I knew the things before that I've learned in the past, wait for it, week and 3 days. That's right. These have only been in for a week and 3 days. And I know, like I just said, you've been seeing them in videos for weeks now, maybe over a month, but that's because I batch film. So I'll film a bunch within a few days and then take a couple of weeks or so to edit all of those videos. So yes, in real lifetime, a week and 3 days. And I'm really sad about it because typically they should last 6 to 8 weeks. Typically, you maintain them if you take good care of them. And like I was starting to say, another reason I would have waited, even though I do love them, I'm so happy that I did finally bite the bullet and get them because I have wanted them since before I even shaved my head 6 months ago, which by the way, if you're new here, I did shave my head. And so the video I will put out after this one will be an update, a 6-month post-shave update, and I did what I thought was a good amount of research before getting my braids put in. For a while, what I was looking up was how to braid so that I can try and do it myself because I really thought that I would be able to, but needless to say, that did not pan out well. So I opted to find a braider, which took forever because in my area, I thought I found someone. She was so sweet and so great, but she only did crochet braids, which I actually got knotless, small to medium. I think they say it's medium. And that's exactly what I wanted. The size of these is perfect. The length was what I pictured. I mean, the color I picked out myself. I actually got this hair myself. And oftentimes I learned that's what you do is you buy your own hair and then you bring it to the braider, and that's what they use, unless they sell it themselves, which a lot of them also do. You guys, this took 7 hours, and it was not cheap. That is 7 hours of somebody's day, of somebody's time. It is a service, so this was not inexpensive. This is one of the reasons, knowing what I know now, I would have held off, even though I don't regret it, even though I love them. I'm having to take them out at only a week and 3 days. And for the amount of money I paid, and sure, the full day basically spent having them put in, it would have been a better decision to wait a little bit. Okay, so headband's coming off, and I don't know if I'm sure you've been able to see this already, but my hair has been aggressively, this makes me so sad because I love them so much. My hair has been aggressively trying and successfully escaping these braids since I got them put in. Actually, at the end of the braiding session, which again took 7 hours, and that's nothing new. Anybody who's gotten braids knows, especially if they're, medium to small size. I mean, it takes like a good about 7 hours. So that wasn't anything unexpected. But at the end of that session even, I did have some hairs popping out. Oh yeah. Okay. I love them, but clearly they need to come out. So at the end of that session, my hair and my ends were already aggressively trying to escape the braids. And so she suggested to me to just put product on them, to sleep, with silk scarf or a bonnet, which I had both. Maybe use additional spray and just press them down every night and just do that. I did that. You guys, I'm very compliant. I say that my hair successfully escaped because these braids right here came out on their own. These fell out on their own. The first couple were actually my little baby curls down here, which you heard me mention in the video showing you when I shaved my head. These were the first things I kind of chopped off. Those are where the first two kind of just like, they just slipped out of. And that was only 5 days after I got the braids put in. And again, I was diligent about, I didn't put it up. I certainly didn't put it up tightly. If I did put it up, it was fairly loose, and I mostly just depended on a headband to hold things up, because when I was doing my workouts, I would put my hair up in a giant bun, which looked so cute too. But yeah, they totally slipped out. And then in the last 3 days, these other ones came out. I'm pretty sure one came out of here, and again, they just slipped out. And you can see my hair. I mean, you can even see it. It's just like really trying to liberate itself from these braids, and I don't blame it. And that's going to lead me to the first thing I think is really good to know. You need to get the right hair. I didn't give it much thought when I got this hair off of Amazon. Actually, it was a really good price, and the reviews seemed pretty good. I really just based it on the color because, well, that was easy. I based it on the color because I love this color. I thought it was so fun. And this is actually 2 different colors. So the purple that you see, that's more of an ombre, like this, it goes from purple to blue to like this light lavender pastel color. That was a different pack than this one, which is just blue, and it was just blue packed on its own. But the braider, she did a great job when it came to mixing the colors and everything. But what I learned is that the best thing to do would be to find the person that's going to braid your hair. A lot of braiders, they only work with a certain type of hair, and you'll find that on, usually it says, or they'll tell you, or it says on their website. I happened to find this one locally. She worked at a salon with really, really great reviews, but she herself was actually new. She was new to the area. She'd only been there a month. I don't know how many heads she braided there. And I didn't get many pictures of her previous work that were relevant or similar to what I wanted to get done. But the salon owner was really sweet. She was really responsive. And that's another tip, you guys. If you're going to own a business, I reached out to 3 or 4 different people with salons or braiders and didn't get any response, didn't get a text back, didn't get a phone call, which maybe I'm old school with this, but I think, if you're providing a service and somebody requests that they want to learn more and requests that you call them, then it's kind of important, and it's a good business practice to actually call them, rather than, text back or send a website. And this is taking into consideration, certainly not when you're working, certainly not if you're with another client. But at the end of the day, you could potentially be losing, especially in this case with this kind of service, hundreds of dollars in potential business. But at the same time, you can't really be upset with that because, it's just a sign in itself. Like maybe you should look elsewhere to get it done. But the salon that I got this done in, she responded right away, the owner, very, very sweet, and she was very helpful. She had me send her pictures of the hair I had this stuff to braid, the style I wanted, and also pictures of my head and my hair. So my first tip is, before you even get your hair, to find the right braider, and ideally to have a real life consultation with them so you can go in and they can check your hair on your head and the texture of it, the length of it, and see if you're a good candidate for the type of braids you want, or if it's better to hold off. Clearly, you have to consider your hair length, your hair texture, and even the ends, which means you don't want to get a trim soon before getting your braids in, because when you get a trim, or in my case, when I shaved my head, the ends were really, really blunt and just sharp. And so that promoted them to really want to stick out of the braids no matter what, because they kind of did from the get-go. And also keep in mind, this was my first time getting braids. So I don't have an accurate gauge of if anything was due to the braider's skill or not. To me, for all I know, and from the experience she told me she had been doing it for years and years and years, she wasn't a kid. But I feel like, honestly, she did the best she could because she had a lot working against her. And here's why. The length of my hair wouldn't typically be an issue. You could see it's long enough. I mean, this is long enough to get braids done. You can find videos of girls putting braids in micro braids, especially with tiny, short length hair, but their texture was completely different than mine. I always considered the texture of my hair to be really coarse because it is super duper curly and coarse. It's, I have basically Middle Eastern type textured curly, thick hair. But I will say I've noticed that since I've shaved it, it has grown back a lot smoother. And that's something that my braider told me. She's like, well, yeah, your hair's short. It's typically not a problem, especially the length that your hair is, but it's very smooth and soft. And the ends were very, very blunt. And both of those things were working against me and working against her putting in the braids. So those are things to consider before you get your braids in. And when it came to the hair that I chose, apparently it may have been the worst hair that she has ever worked with. Because I asked her, I'm like, you can be honest. Is this the worst hair? Is this like the most horrible quality, worst hair that you've worked with? Because it is synthetic, clearly, which a lot of them are. And she so kindly, very nicely said that, yes, this was the worst hair she worked with. And I could tell that it was a little bit difficult because when she was actually braiding my hair, it almost seemed like 50% of it was being lost, like pulled out and lost and knotting up as she was braiding, just on the ground, that ended up being tossed. It was really messy. And in all of the videos I'd watched and research that I'd done, I didn't remember seeing that almost at all. So I asked her, I'm like, is this the hair? Causing this? And she very nicely said, pretty much, like, this is some poor quality hair. Like, you probably don't want to go with this in the future. Not only that, but it was confirmed when she finished my braids, because you set the ends in boiling water and it helps to set the ends of the hair to smooth it out. This hair that I got in particular did not respond at all. The ends were they were just like this after they were supposed to be set in the boiling water. And she tried twice and that water was piping hot. It was fresh off the boiler. So, and you know what? I'll link the hair I got in the description below so you know what not to get if you're looking to purchase your own hair. But she did recommend for next time, popular brands, I guess it is, one is called Expressions. And she mentioned a second one. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was called Royal. I could be completely wrong. Something like Royal. But all of this leads back to consulting with your braider first and in person so that they can look at the texture of your hair, the length, the ends of your hair, suggest the best hair to get for you. Because with the majority of those factors, even though I sent a picture of my hair, a couple of good clear pictures, I sent a picture of the hair that I bought to use, and as well as, the style and size of braids I wanted, which were small to medium knotless. She said it was okay and it would be great in the pictures, but I feel like if I would have gone in person for her to actually feel my hair, see it in person, then maybe I would have been suggested to hold off or at least get different hair or something to make them last longer than a week and 3 days. Something else important to note is that before you use the hair, when you get it, you need to give it a vinegar rinse, because if not, chances are high that you're going to get an allergic reaction, even if the quality of the hair is, the brand that she suggested that I just mentioned, because that happened to me and I don't get allergic reactions, but I looked it up after the fact and apparently it's very, very common. So it's really important that when you get your hair, it comes in a rubber band, you keep it in the rubber band and you give it a vinegar rinse. Fill up your sink or a tub with water and then put in a half cup to a cup of vinegar and just let the hair sit in there. And you'll actually see the chemicals that the hair is coated with rise to the surface, because I learned that there's been a problem more and more as years have gone by with synthetic hair, with braiding hair, that they spray this coating of very allergenic chemicals on the hair, which in turn causes an allergic reaction in the people who get it installed. And that typically is a lot of itching, which I experienced. It was almost completely unbearable. Days 4 through 7, it just kind of eased off a couple of days ago. And honestly, I think it's because my hair has grown out more because it grows pretty fast. But the itching was unbearable. unbearable. Not only that, I actually started to get in a couple areas these small clusters of really dry, kind of like reddish bumps, which I've never ever had before. And it was the areas where I noticed that the braids were more likely to touch my face or back here to touch my neck. And I learned that it is due to these chemicals. So it's really important to do that vinegar rinse, you guys, no matter what hair you get. It's just a good precaution to take. Otherwise, I mean, when I tell you, and I have a good tolerance for stuff like that, but it was just the most intense itching I've ever felt. Now, if you already have your braids in right now, and you're watching this and you are experiencing that itching, then what you can do is use a spray bottle and put in half vinegar, half white vinegar, half water. Spray your roots down between the sections of the braids and let that sit a little bit. And then you refill that spray bottle with just a little bit of a good clarifying shampoo, or whatever shampoo you use, I'm sure is fine. And mix that with water, spray that on the roots, kind of rub them, basically washing your scalp. And with the vinegar one also, I would go kind of, a little distance on the braids just because they are touching your head still at that point. You do want to avoid wetting your braids completely because they get so heavy if you do that. But at least if you can combat the chemicals near your scalp, it should help to alleviate the itching, or if you get those little bumps. And another thing that helped me overnight with the little instances of the allergic bumps that I was getting was simply making sure I wash them gently with my own gentle face wash. And then I put a good thick cream moisturizer on it. And actually I put my eye cream on it, and I mean like a good little layer, and it was gone overnight. And hopefully that will help to alleviate the itching if you want to keep your braids in. But you know what? The best way is to prevent it in the first place and to do that vinegar rinse with all the hair still intact in the rubber band, soaking it in that vinegar rinse, and then clearly rinsing that with cool water very, very well before you even get them put in your head. And my next tip is to just have some things ready at home if you don't happen to already. So for me, I pre-purchased before I got my braids in because I knew I would need it. Some Shine and Jam, which I honestly purchased because I thought I was going to try and do my braids myself, and I did. I tried one myself, and it was a hot mess. Actually, it kind of looked like what these are ending up with now with my hair sticking out all over the place. But you might want to get something like that, or a gel or edge control to maintain your roots and your braids, especially as they start growing out. You probably want to get some good holding spray, might be helpful. You definitely want to get a silk or satin lined bonnet, or in the very least a scarf to sleep in. And I got a couple. They even make them for long hair. So I actually got one, and I'll link it below, but I got one that actually held all of my hair in it. That really helped to maintain, at least the braided part, so it didn't get all frizzy. And honestly, something about wearing that at night, I feel like has made me sleep better, which is very, very interesting. And a shower cap, something to wear in the shower, might be advantageous if you don't want to get your hair wet or mess it up. Whenever I would shower or work out, I would just put it in a giant bun at the top of my head. And you also want to get a good little spray bottle, like I mentioned, for, to help with the itching and stuff. But even if you don't have that itching, you still want to get a little spray bottle to shampoo and wash your scalp between your braids. I don't know what I'm going to do with all this. Do people just throw it away? I feel like, what if I made cat teaser toys out of them? Is that weird? Let me know in the comments if you would buy my gorgeous but short-term braid cat teaser toys. Speaking of that, if you have a kitten at home and decide to get long, these are 24-inch braids. Every time you bend over, they might be very excited and think that you have just like a collection of teaser toys on your head. Oh my gosh. So the itching that I noticed as an allergic reaction, it was mostly the hairline. It was definitely behind the ears, at the nape of the neck. It was this area right here and a little bit right here. And that was despite kind of getting in those areas with my face wash from day one, because it's a gentle face wash, like I said, and I didn't want to mess up the braids too much, but clearly that did not make a difference. What do you think? Should I leave it like this? Do you like it? Should I do pigtails? Oh, and another thing that I want to mention is, I don't know if it was the product used or the actual braids themselves and that chemical film I said that's on the braids, but something was leaving a film on my nails, on my nail polish, to where it's like it stayed. First of all, I don't know if this will, you can see it. There's like a sticky film that has permanently been on my nail polish to where you could see like the lint and things collects on them. But if you look, I mean, it's almost like it prohibits them from drying. I've just been like, why does it seem like my nail polish is staying kind of wet and sticky all the time? And I really think it's clearly from something that's on the hair, or I don't know why it would be that Shine and Jam stuff. I thought that was really strange. And it's also really telling of why it's so important that you sleep with a bonnet or something with your hair wrapped. Make sure that you're changing your pillowcase out. Honestly, with braids in, especially if you didn't do the vinegar rinse, at least every other night minimum. Because if something on these braids is leaving a film, a sticky film on my nails, and was causing this weird, skin reaction in certain areas of my hairline, you can guarantee that it would also cause your skin to break out if your braids are touching your skin, especially if you lean on them while you're sleeping, and end up causing you some acne or just things that you don't want. So I would just take heed of that. And this is pretty much common sense, but might as well throw it in there. If you love candles and light them like I do, be careful. Especially if your hair is, super long length. Do we have one left? Oh my gosh. Like this one was, and it swings over your shoulder super easily. Just be careful that it doesn't fall in candles when you're trying to light them, or on the stove top perhaps. The end of my braids were dipped in soup a couple of times, just, from not being used to them. There we go. They are all out. I'm serious about the cat toy thing, you guys. And you know what? I'm going to soak these in that vinegar rinse before I make any potential cat toys for the safety of the feline fur babies. That feels so much lighter. Okay, I'm happy. I mean, I love them. They were beautiful, but man, they were heavy and causing allergic reactions and all of that stuff too. So if you have any other things you've learned or tips, if you are a braiding stylist and maybe I missed something, or there's something that you think would benefit anybody watching this video, or even me, I'd love to learn more, because I do plan on getting them again in the future, probably after my hair is grown out, maybe another 6 months or so, if anything. You guys, my hair feels absolutely disgusting. I'm so excited to go wash it. And another thing too is when you take them out, clearly you're going to lose a lot of hair, because all the hair that you didn't naturally shed because it was in the braids is going to come out. So didn't think of that when I was taking them out here in my office. All right, guys, if you like this video or found it interesting or helpful, please click that thumbs up below, because that lets me know what you like to see, and also will put it in front of the eyes of other people who are maybe about to get braids for the first time and should really hear some of these little tidbits that I learned. Also, remember to click that subscribe button if you want to join the Cat Lady Fitness family, because I would love to have you. And I just realized I didn't mention this shirt I'm wearing. It was sent to me by a good best friend of mine who said I wouldn't wear it in a video. And I'm like, why not? This thing is kind of amazing. Yes, it is. I mean, what else can you say? It's a fishnet man chest with a very nice lip tattoo right here. And honestly, it's super comfortable. Anyway, I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining me on this tandem shared experience of me giving you tips while I was taking out my braids. And let me know if you'd be interested in me refurbishing these things and not putting my investment completely to waste by making DIY cat toys, because I'm seriously considering it. I mean, it's like a sure thing almost in my head. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.